Few names from ancient history still inspire fear the way Attila the Hun does. Even today, people use his name as a symbol of destruction, invasion, and ruthless power. But who was Attila really? Was he a savage warlord from the edge of civilization, or a brilliant leader who exposed the weakness of Rome? To understand Attila, we first need to understand the people he led. The Huns were a nomadic confederation that appeared in Europe during the late 4th century. They were not one single tribe or nation in the modern sense. Instead, they were a coalition of warriors, clans, and allied peoples held together through strength, loyalty, and success in war. Most historians believe the Huns came from the vast grasslands known as the Eurasian steppe. This massive belt of open land stretches from Mongolia through Central Asia and into Eastern Europe. And that geography mattered. The steppe was one of history's greatest breeding grounds for horse cultures. Wide open land rewarded speed, endurance, and mobility. People raised there often became expert riders, archers, and survivors. While empires built roads, cities, and walls, steppe peoples built movement. That difference would change history. When the Huns moved westward into Europe, they caused shockwaves. Entire tribes fled from them. Germanic peoples such as the Goths pushed into Roman territory to escape Hun pressure. So even before Attila attacked Rome directly, the Huns were already destabilizing Europe. And then Attila arrived. Attila rose to power in the 5th century AD. At first, he ruled jointly with his brother Bleda. Later, he ruled alone and transformed the Huns into the most feared military force in Europe. But Attila was not famous simply because he fought. He was famous because he understood leverage. Instead of always conquering cities, Attila often pressured the Roman Empire into paying tribute. In other words, Rome sometimes paid him huge amounts of gold to avoid invasion. Think about that. One of the greatest empires in world history was paying off a man from the steppe. That tells you how dangerous he was. Attila knew that occupying cities was expensive, but forcing wealthy enemies to pay you was efficient power. Roman diplomats even visited his court. One first-hand witness described Attila as surprisingly disciplined and less luxurious than many around him. According to one account, while guests drank from gold cups, Attila used a simple wooden one. Whether fully true or partly symbolic, the message was clear. He wanted to appear tough, restrained, and above vanity. That image would have mattered deeply to warriors. Then came Attila's most famous campaigns. In 451 AD, he invaded Gaul, modern-day France. There he faced a coalition of Romans and Visigoths at the Battle of the Catalonian Plains. This battle is one of the most important of late antiquity. Attila was not decisively destroyed, but he was checked. It proved that if Rome and its allies coordinated, the Huns could be resisted. But Attila was not finished. The very next year, he invaded Italy itself. Panic spread across the peninsula. Cities feared destruction. The Roman heartland was under threat. Then came one of history's most famous meetings. According to tradition, Pope Leo X met Attila face to face and convinced him to withdraw. Did one conversation stop the most feared man in Europe? Maybe not. More likely, practical reasons mattered. Disease was spreading. Supplies were difficult. Armies get tired. Political threats can emerge elsewhere. Legends love speeches. History usually includes logistics. Still, the image of a pope confronting Attila became unforgettable. So what was Attila actually like? To enemies, he was terrifying. To followers, he was a successful ruler who brought wealth, power, and prestige. To historians, he appears as a ruthless but highly capable leader operating in a brutal era. He understood fear, he understood diplomacy, and he understood timing. Then suddenly it ended. Attila died in 453 AD, reportedly after a wedding feast. The exact details remain uncertain, but what happened next is revealing. Soon after his death, the Hun Empire began to fracture. Rival groups broke away. Internal divisions emerged. The empire weakened quickly. This suggests something powerful. Attila himself may have been the glue holding it all together. Without his leadership, the machine fell apart. That often happens in empires built around one extraordinary person rather than strong institutions. So why does Attila still fascinate people today? Because his story represents timeless themes. An outsider challenging a mighty empire. Mobility defeating bureaucracy. Leadership changing history. Fear spreading faster than armies. And great civilizations discovering they are weaker than the sets.